Anger is a fire that rarely asks permission before it burns. And most of the time, the things that ignite it are so small, so trivial, so utterly beneath the dignity of our attention, that when we look back, we almost feel embarrassed that such details had the power to disturb us. Yet this is the human condition, to be moved, shaken, provoked, and irritated by what does not matter. A misplaced word, a careless glance, a delayed message, a rude gesture, a small inconvenience. How quickly the mind seizes these little sparks and sets its entire piece ablaze. If we ever wish to live with clarity, strength, and stable judgment, we must learn not simply how to suppress anger, but how to understand the roots that feed it, how to rule over it, and how to free ourselves from the reflex that turns every minor disturbance into a threat. When something small is capable of ruining your mood, it is not the world that is powerful. It is you who have forgotten your own strength. The first step is recognizing that anger is rarely about the thing that triggers it. It is about the interpretation that follows. No foolish remark has the power to wound you by itself. No mild inconvenience has the ability to dictate your inner state. Nothing that happens outside you is strong enough to twist your spirit unless you grant it that permission. People speak thoughtlessly, not because they intend to harm you, but because they are distracted, impulsive, or unaware. Objects break not to insult you, but simply because they are fragile. Circumstances do not conspire against you. The world simply unfolds according to its own nature, indifferent to your preferences. Yet you respond as if each annoyance were a personal attack, as if the universe pauses its great motion merely to interfere with your comfort. This illusion must be shattered. The world is not plotting to irritate you. It is only doing what it does. You are the one interpreting events as hostile. If you grow angry when the world does not match your expectations, the real problem lies not in the world, but in the expectations themselves. The mind grows rigid and demands that everything conform to its personal blueprint. But life never asked for your approval. Nothing in existence promised to behave exactly as you wish. When you expect perfection from others, you will be disappointed. When you demand total order from life, you will be frustrated. When you assume that your path should always be smooth, even the smallest pebble will feel like a mountain. The wise do not curse the pebble, they simply step over it and continue walking. The untrained mind, however, sees the pebble as an injustice. It declares, "Why is this here? Why is this happening to me?" And in this declaration lies the seed of anger. Remove the demand, and the anger disappears with it. Consider how often anger arises from a sense of rushed urgency. You grow irritated because someone is slower than you. You grow frustrated because something interrupts your pace. You become agitated because events unfold differently from the timeline you imagined. But this impatience is nothing more than the insistence that life move at the speed of your personal will. When someone walks slowly in front of you, the anger you feel is not about their pace, but about your own insistence that your desires are more important than their existence. When technology glitches or delays occur, your reaction is a reflection of your belief that the world owes you convenience, yet life owes you nothing. Every moment is a gift, not a guarantee. When you internalize this truth, the slow walker, the minor delay, the unexpected obstacle becomes almost amusing. Just another reminder that you are not the master of the universe, only the master of yourself. To stop getting angry at foolish things, you must first learn to see events for what they truly are, not for what your emotions paint them to be. A careless person is not an enemy. A mistake is not a catastrophe. An inconvenience is not a tragedy. The mind that rushes to exaggeration suffers far more than the person who is wronged. A wise person looks at the same situation and chooses the interpretation that preserves peace. Not out of weakness, but out of strength. Not because they are passive, but because they refuse to become a slave to impulses. One of the most profound realizations you can reach is that most of the things that anger you do not even matter a day later. Some don't matter an hour later, and many don't matter 5 minutes later. Yet in the moment, you let them grip your chest and steal your clarity. If something does not matter in the long term, why grant it power in the present? You must cultivate the habit of asking yourself, will this matter later? And when the honest answer is no, let your mind step back as if the irritation were a passing cloud drifting across the sky. Clouds do not last. Neither do small annoyances. You only suffer when you cling to them. Another principle is understanding that most of what triggers your anger is a reflection of the flaws you have yet to master within yourself. Someone's carelessness angers you because you too fear appearing careless. Someone's ignorance irritates you because you have not fully accepted your own imperfections. Someone's rudeness provokes you because you still seek validation from the external world. The things we hate in others often mirror the things we have not resolved in ourselves. So instead of reacting with anger, use these moments as a mirror. Ask yourself why this particular behavior disturbs you. More often than not, the answer will reveal a weakness inside you, not an offense outside you. Once you see this, your anger turns into understanding, and understanding dissolves anger like sunlight dissolves frost. You must also remember that anger clouds judgment. When you get angry, you shrink your intelligence to match the size of the moment. You lose the ability to think clearly, to speak wisely, to act rationally. You become reactive instead of resolute. You allow impulses to hijack your reasoning. And the irony is that anger often presents itself as strength. It makes you feel powerful, dominant, righteous. But the truth is the complete opposite. Anger is the confession of a mind that has lost control. It is the surrender of your inner governance. The one who provokes you becomes your master the moment you react. The one who irritated you has taken command of your peace. They pull a string, and you dance. No wise person allows another to guide their emotions like a puppet. The greatest victory is maintaining control when others expect you to lose it. There is another truth. What you call stupidity is often simply reality expressing itself without caring about your opinions. People behave according to their nature, not yours. The person who cuts you off, the one who speaks rudely, the one who misunderstands something obvious, the one who makes a foolish decision, none of them are obligated to behave in a way that preserves your inner comfort. They are acting according to their own level of awareness, their own struggles, their own limitations. Expecting them to be wiser, calmer, sharper, or more respectful than they are is a recipe for endless frustration. People act according to the development of their character. A child will act like a child. A distracted mind will act distracted. A careless person will be careless. Getting angry at this is like shouting at the wind for blowing. It accomplishes nothing. You cannot demand maturity from those who have not yet cultivated it. The wise respond with compassion, or silence, or distance, but not anger. Silence is one of the most powerful tools against irritation. When something provokes you, do not respond immediately. The mind in the grip of emotion is not a trustworthy advisor. A pause, even a breath, is enough to break the chain that leads from irritation to anger. The pause is your reclaiming of authority. The pause is the reminder that you are not obligated to participate in every disturbance. The pause is the seed of wisdom. In that pause, ask yourself whether the situation truly deserves a reaction. More often than not, the answer is no. That pause saves you from countless moments of regret. Furthermore, remember that anger at small things accumulates. One irritation carries into the next. You spill coffee and grow upset. Then a conversation irritates you. Then a slow driver frustrates you. Then a minor problem at work feels unbearable. The mind snowballs negativity when it is not restrained, but the same principle can work in your favor. Peace can accumulate too. If you respond wisely to the first irritation, you prevent a chain reaction of emotional collapse. You stop your day from being hijacked by trivialities. Every time you ignore a small annoyance, you strengthen a mental muscle. Over time, your threshold for irritation rises. What once angered you becomes almost invisible. You grow larger than your frustrations. To stop getting angry at stupid things, you must also stop feeding your mind with sources of artificial irritation. Many people constantly consume negativity, arguments, drama, and conflict, then wonder why they are quick to anger. The mind becomes what it repeatedly consumes. If you surround yourself with noise, you internalize noise. If you consume outrage, you become easy to outrage. If you constantly seek stimulation, even small disruptions will feel unbearable. Simplifying your mental environment helps you simplify your reactions. There is another essential practice: learning to separate what is within your control from what is not. This is one of the oldest, simplest, and most powerful disciplines of a stable mind. When you encounter a small annoyance, ask yourself whether it is within your control. If it is not, anger is irrational. If it is, anger is unnecessary. You can simply act to change it. But most anger rises from things outside your command. Other people's choices, external circumstances, past events, natural mistakes, random outcomes. Wasting energy on what you cannot influence is the surest path to exhaustion. But focusing on your own response, your own understanding, your own decisions, that is where mastery lies. Consider also the importance of humility. Anger often comes from the illusion that you are exceptional, that you deserve special treatment, that the world should accommodate your preferences. But the world does not revolve around you. You are one among billions. Your desires, while important to you, do not carry cosmic authority. Humility dissolves anger because humility dismantles entitlement. When you stop expecting the world to operate according to your personal script, you stop seeing every deviation as an offense. Humility frees you from the constant friction between desire and reality. It allows you to navigate life with grace instead of resentment. Another practice is compassion. Not sentimental compassion, but rational compassion. When someone behaves foolishly or rudely, consider what causes them to act that way. Ignorance, insecurity, lack of discipline, inner turmoil. These are afflictions of the mind, not targeted attacks against you. Imagine if you carried their burdens, their upbringing, their limitations. You might behave no differently. Understanding this makes anger look absurd. You do not hate a sick person for coughing. Why hate an untrained mind for stumbling? Compassion does not mean excusing harmful behavior. It means refusing to let it disturb your inner stability. You should also train yourself to recognize the fleeting nature of emotions. Anger feels powerful, overwhelming, urgent, but only while it lasts. Once the emotion fades, clarity returns, and you see how foolish it was. If you can remember this in the moment, you regain power. When anger begins to rise, acknowledge it, but do not obey it. Tell yourself, this feeling is temporary. It will pass. I will not tie my actions to a momentary storm. This alone is enough to stop countless mistakes. One of the greatest skills is learning to shrink problems to their actual size. The mind exaggerates everything. A small inconvenience becomes a major problem. A rude comment becomes an attack. A misunderstanding becomes a betrayal. A delayed plan becomes a disaster. But almost none of these things hold real weight. Shrink them back to their true scale. Ask yourself, is this truly serious? Will this affect my life in any meaningful way? Or is it simply noise? If it is noise, treat it as noise. Ignore it, observe it, or step past it. To stop getting angry, practice imagining the bigger picture. Against the vastness of time, your irritation is nothing. Against the size of the universe, your inconvenience is microscopic. Against the course of your entire life, the rude comment of a stranger is meaningless. But when you zoom in, it feels enormous. Learn to zoom out. Perspective is the antidote to overreaction. Another powerful method is training the body. A tense body creates a tense mind. If your breathing is shallow, your posture tight, your muscles contracted, you will be more reactive. Calm the body, and the mind follows. Slow your breath when irritated. Relax your shoulders. Release the jaw. Your physical state influences your emotional state more than you realize. The wise train not only their thoughts, but their entire being. Self-discipline is essential. Many people are angry at small things because they have not learned to endure discomfort. They expect constant ease. They crumble at the slightest friction. The solution is not to make life smoother, but to make yourself stronger. Embrace small discomforts willingly. Do things that require patience. Choose stillness when restless. Choose silence when provoked. Train your will. By building inner strength, trivial irritations lose their grip. Another principle is learning to value peace more than pride. Pride is one of the quickest paths to anger. It whispers, "You deserve better. You should not tolerate this. You must respond. You must defend yourself." But peace whispers something different. Let it go. You lose nothing by walking away. Your energy is too valuable to waste here. When you choose peace over pride, your life becomes infinitely lighter. Furthermore, remember that anger is contagious. When someone behaves foolishly, reacting with anger only adds more foolishness to the situation. You become part of the problem instead of the solution. The truly strong person remains calm while others lose themselves. They bring clarity where others bring chaos. They maintain dignity where others abandon it. This is not weakness. It is mastery. One of the strongest ways to stop getting angry is to practice detachment. Not coldness, not indifference, but inner freedom. Detachment means understanding that external events do not determine your happiness. They do not define you. They do not control you unless you allow them to. You are the guardian of your inner world. You choose what enters it. You choose which thoughts to nurture. You choose which impulses to follow. When you adopt this mindset, irritations bounce off you like pebbles against a mountain. You should also reflect on the fact that every moment of anger is a moment stolen from your life. Each time you become angry at something foolish, you trade a piece of your limited time for something that has no value. You exchange peace for irritation, clarity for chaos, strength for weakness. Life is too short to be squandered on trivialities. You cannot afford to waste your emotional energy on what does not matter. The final practice is one of daily reflection. At the end of each day, review your reactions. Ask yourself where you lost your composure. Identify the triggers. Understand them. Train yourself to respond differently next time. Progress is not made by perfection, but by awareness. Each day, aim to be slightly less reactive, slightly more patient, slightly more grounded. Over time, the cumulative effect transforms you. Things that once angered you now appear insignificant. What once disturbed you now barely registers. You grow calmer, wiser, stronger, and the strangest thing happens. As you stop reacting to foolish things stop seeking you out. Your energy becomes too calm for chaos to cling to. Your presence becomes too grounded to attract trivial conflict. You become a person who walks through the world with quiet power. A power not derived from domination, but from self-mastery. The world will still be chaotic. People will still be foolish. Inconveniences will still arise. But none of it will matter as much as it once did, because the storm outside cannot disturb the mind that has become still within. When you rise above irritation, you begin to understand how much of life's suffering is self-inflicted. You realize that the world was never your enemy. Your uncontrolled reactions were. And this realization is liberating, because it shows that the power to live peacefully was always in your hands. It was never dependent on better people, quieter environments, smoother circumstances, or more obedient events. It depended only on your inner discipline. People who chase peace externally become exhausted. People who cultivate peace internally become unshakable. The noise outside them never reaches the core within them, and even in chaos they remain composed. Observe those who anger easily. Their minds are like dry twigs. One spark and they burn. They live in a state of constant agitation, always ready to explode at the slightest inconvenience. They believe they are victims of the world, but the true victim is their lack of self-governance. Their mood is determined by accidents, their attitude shaped by strangers, their peace stolen by trivial interruptions. They surrender their inner kingdom to whatever winds blow outside. Do not resemble such people. A mind that can be disturbed by small things will be torn apart by big things. If you cannot remain calm when something minor goes wrong, how will you endure when something major collapses? Strength is built in the small moments, not the grand ones. Your reaction to the small irritations of daily life is the training ground for the storms ahead. A powerful technique is to anticipate the annoyances of the day before they happen. Every morning remind yourself that you will encounter people who misunderstand you, who disagree with you, who are unreasonable, unpredictable, or impatient. You will face delays, errors, unexpected obstacles, thoughtless comments, and minor frustrations. These things are not tragedies. They are simply the normal movements of life. When you expect them beforehand, they lose their ability to shock you. The mind that is prepared does not react with anger when irritation arises. It simply recognizes the event as part of the expected rhythm. This is not pessimism, it is wisdom. You are reinforcing the idea that reality does not exist to satisfy your preferences. You are training yourself to accept life rather than resent it. Sometimes, anger arises not because the thing is significant, but because the mind is tired, undisciplined, or overwhelmed. A cluttered mind lives in a state of low-grade irritation. This is why inner clarity is essential. When your thoughts are scattered, your emotions become sensitive to every disturbance. When your priorities are unclear, every inconvenience feels like a threat. But when your mind is organized, your priorities sharp, your inner world grounded, small annoyances bounce off you instead of sinking into you. The more orderly your inner life becomes, the less chaos outside can influence you. Understand also that anger at small things is often a signal of deeper unrest. It may not be the trivial annoyance that truly bothers you, but something unresolved within. A person who is dissatisfied with themselves becomes irritated easily by others. A person who has unaddressed frustrations turns the slightest inconvenience into an emotional explosion. The small thing is merely the spark. The real fire was already burning underneath. This is why self-honesty is crucial. When you find yourself irritated, ask whether the cause is truly external or whether the irritation is revealing an internal imbalance. Sometimes the path to peace lies not in managing the trigger, but in healing the root. The mature mind sees through the illusion that anger provides power. Anger feels loud, but it makes you weak. It drains your energy. It shortens your patience. It narrows your vision. It turns you into a reactive creature rather than a deliberate one. Power is not the ability to shout or explode. It is the ability to remain composed when others fall apart. The one who controls their anger is stronger than the one who controls an army. You cannot be strong outwardly if you are easily shaken inwardly. True strength is silent, steady, and calm. Anyone can lose their temper. Very few can master it. Train yourself not only to resist anger, but to replace it with understanding. When someone acts foolishly, remind yourself that this is the level at which they operate. Expecting anything different is unrealistic. When someone behaves rudely, consider what kind of inner conflict they must live with to act that way. When someone makes a careless mistake, remember that you too have made many. Understanding does not mean agreeing, it means seeing clearly. And when you see clearly, anger dissolves, for it cannot survive in the presence of understanding. There is also value in humor, not mockery, not cruelty, but the simple ability to laugh internally at the absurdity of the small things that once irritated you. Life is full of situations that are comical when viewed with the right mindset. The spilled drink, the broken object, the sudden inconvenience. These things are not tragedies. They are reminders of life's unpredictability, and sometimes a gentle smile is the best response. Humor is the bridge between irritation and acceptance. When you learn to laugh at the small disruptions instead of cursing them, you have already won. One of the deepest insights is that anger is a form of attachment. You are attached to your preferences, your expectations, your time, your comfort, your opinions. When reality deviates from these attachments, anger appears. The less attached you are, the less you suffer. This does not mean you should not care. Caring is human. It means you should not cling. Hold your expectations lightly, not tightly. Walk through life with open hands. Let go of your demand for perfect conditions, and you will find peace even when conditions are imperfect. Another powerful exercise is imagining that each small annoyance was placed in your life to train you. Treat every irritation as a lesson. The slow line at the store is an opportunity to practice patience. The rude comment is a chance to practice composure. The mistake you made is a lesson in humility. The device malfunction is a reminder to let go of control. When you view life this way, nothing irritates you. Instead, everything strengthens you. The world becomes your teacher, not your enemy. And every frustrating moment becomes a training session for your mind. It is also helpful to examine the price of your anger. Anger at small things damages relationships, wastes time, ruins days, and harms your health. It drains your energy like a leak in the spirit. For what? For a misunderstanding, for a momentary inconvenience, for a stranger's mistake. When you consider the cost, you realize how expensive anger is. You are trading hours of peace for seconds of irritation. You are giving something precious for something worthless. Once you understand this, anger begins to feel like a poor bargain. one you should never agree to. The next practice is maintaining the right scale of importance. Not everything deserves the same emotional weight. Some things truly matter: your values, your principles, your character, the well-being of those you love. These deserve your attention. But most daily irritations do not belong in the same category. Treating everything with equal seriousness is a guaranteed way to exhaust yourself. Learn to rank your reactions. Give your energy only to what aligns with your principles. Let everything else be like dust on your path, noticed, but not carried. You should also develop emotional endurance. Just as the body becomes stronger through physical exercise, the mind becomes resilient through emotional resistance. Every time you withstand an irritation without reacting, you strengthen your inner stability. Every time you pause instead of explode, you build self-control. Every time you choose peace instead of anger, you fortify your spirit. You do not become calm overnight. You become calm through repeated decisions. It is also essential to examine your language. The words you use sharpen or soften your reactions. If you say, "This is unbearable," the mind believes it. If you say, "This is inconvenient, but manageable," the mind responds accordingly. Your vocabulary shapes your emotional reality. Avoid exaggeration, avoid catastrophic language, avoid dramatization. The moment you speak with clarity instead of intensity, the emotion begins to shrink. Another insight: when you catch yourself getting angry at small things, gently question the ego. The ego is fragile, easily offended, hungry for control, desperate for validation. Anger often emerges when the ego feels threatened. Someone fails to respect you, ego. Someone inconveniences you, ego. Someone contradicts you, ego. The ego demands that the world treat it like royalty, and when reality refuses, anger appears. But once you understand this, you can separate your true self from your ego's tantrums. You can say, "This is not a real threat. This is just my ego reacting." And with that awareness, the anger loses its power. There is also the discipline of breathing. When irritation arises, the breath becomes shallow. The body prepares for conflict. But if you consciously breathe deeply and slowly, the body receives a signal that the situation is safe. The mind follows. Breathing is the switch that turns off anger. It is simple but powerful. Before reacting, breathe. Before speaking, breathe. Before judging, breathe. A single breath can prevent a single moment of anger from becoming a chain of regret. One must also learn the discipline of non-engagement. Not every situation requires your participation. Not every remark deserves a reply. Not every provocation warrants a reaction. There is strength in choosing silence, in stepping away, in refusing to be dragged into unnecessary emotional battles. The one who ignores foolishness often defeats it more effectively than the one who confronts it. Walking away is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of wisdom. A crucial part of stopping anger is accepting imperfection in others, in life, and especially in yourself. Many people become irritated not only by the mistakes of others, but by their own. They punish themselves over small errors. They react harshly to their own humanity. But this is just another form of anger at the trivial. You must approach yourself with gentleness. If you cannot be patient with your own flaws, how will you be patient with the flaws of others? Patience toward oneself is the foundation of patience toward the world. Finally, understand that the more you grow, the less the small things matter. As your character becomes stronger, your mind deeper, your purpose clearer, your vision broader, the small irritations become like dust on the horizon. You see them, but they do not distract you. You have too much to accomplish, too much to build, too much to become, to waste your energy on the insignificant. Your life is too valuable to be interrupted by trifles. The more you step into your highest self, the less reactive you become. The more you walk in clarity, the less disturbed you are by noise. And the more you embody strength, the less anger finds a place within you. If you truly wish to stop being angry at stupid things, you must ascend into a state where those things simply do not reach you anymore. You must become a person whose peace is anchored deeply, whose mind is spacious, whose emotions obey reason, and whose spirit remains unshaken by the movements of the world. And though this journey demands discipline, awareness, and practice, the reward is a life of extraordinary calm, clarity, and strength. A life where you no longer burn over what is beneath you, but instead rise above it with quiet mastery. There comes a moment in every disciplined life when you realize that anger is nothing but the mind's refusal to release control. Every irritation, every frustration, every emotional flare begins with the same internal statement: this should not be happening. But ask yourself, where is it written that life must obey your preferences? In what secret contract did you sign an agreement with the universe stating that everything must unfold according to your liking? The moment you let go of this fictional promise, the chains of irritation begin to loosen. You breathe more easily because you have stopped resisting reality. Anger does not arise from what happens, but from your fight against what happens. Release the fight, and the anger dissolves. Life becomes far simpler when you stop trying to edit the world and instead begin editing your reactions. You cannot control the behavior of the person who speaks badly. You cannot rewrite the past mistake. You cannot command the weather, or force machines to always work, or prevent every sudden inconvenience. But you can control what you think of these things. That is where your power lies. When you master your interpretation, nothing trivial can disturb you. The external world loses its grip, because you finally understand that the only battlefield worth fighting on is the one inside your own mind. Another important practice is learning to detect the early signs of irritation. Anger does not appear out of nowhere. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. If you catch it early, before it accelerates, you can neutralize it. Pay attention to the tightening of your jaw, the shortening of your breath, the quickening of your heartbeat, the narrowing of your attention. These are signals. They whisper, "Be careful. You are slipping." If you respond to these signals with awareness, the anger fades. You gain time to think, time to breathe, time to choose. Most people allow the emotion to escalate before they even notice it. They are swept away because they were not watching. Awareness is the guardian at the gate of your peace. You must also learn the difference between reacting and responding. A reaction is automatic, impulsive, unfiltered. It comes from the untrained mind. A response is chosen, deliberate, thoughtful. It comes from the disciplined mind. When you react, you are a slave to whatever provoked you. When you respond, you reclaim your authority. Each time you pause before acting, you widen the space between the stimulus and your response. In that space lies your freedom. The person who controls that space controls their life. Let us also reflect on the role of imagination in anger. The human mind has the remarkable ability to invent entire stories within seconds. Someone makes a small mistake, and you imagine they did it intentionally. Someone forgets something, and you imagine they do not value you. Someone delays you, and you imagine they are disrespecting your time. You build narratives without evidence, and the narratives anger you more than the event itself. The mind becomes storyteller, judge, and executioner all at once. But wisdom demands that you separate fact from fantasy. Before anger takes root, ask yourself, is what I am thinking true? Or am I creating a story? You will often find that your anger was directed not at reality, but at your imagination. A powerful exercise is to remind yourself how many things once angered you that now seem ridiculous. Think of moments long ago where you exploded over something tiny. Think of how the emotion felt gigantic, urgent, unavoidable. Now look back. Does any of it matter? Can you even remember most of those situations? The mind that is consumed by irritation today will laugh at itself tomorrow. So why not skip the fury and move directly to the clarity? Why not treat today's annoyances as the jokes they will appear as later? You must keep reminding yourself that anger is always a choice, even when it does not feel like one. People say, "He made me angry." But no one makes you angry. Others act, you interpret. Others speak, you decide the meaning. Others behave foolishly, you choose whether it affects your peace. If someone could truly make you angry, you would be a puppet and they the puppeteer. But your emotions belong to you. No one else lives inside your mind unless you allow them to. Each time you blame someone else for your anger, you hand them the keys to your peace. Reclaim those keys. It is important to understand the difference between awareness and judgment. Many people get angry at small things because they judge too quickly. They label events as bad, unfair, or insulting before understanding them. A delay is judged as a personal attack. A mistake is judged as proof of incompetence. A comment is judged as disrespect. But judgment is not truth. It is merely the lens you choose. When you remove immediate judgment and replace it with observation, irritation loses its foundation. You see the event without coloring it. This is the practice of seeing clearly. It is the antidote to unnecessary anger. You must also practice flexibility. The rigid mind snaps at the slightest pressure. The flexible mind bends and adapts. When plans change, the rigid mind resists and becomes angry. The flexible mind adjusts and continues moving forward. Flexibility is not weakness, it is resilience. It allows you to remain steady even as circumstances shift. The more flexible your expectations, the less often they are violated. And the less often they are violated, the less anger you experience. There is great value in remembering your own past foolishness. Before you judge someone for their ignorance or mistake, reflect on how many times you were foolish, careless, impulsive, or uninformed. If others had responded to your mistakes with anger every time, your life would have been far more difficult. So offer others the same grace you once needed. Compassion is not softness, it is clarity. It is the recognition that all humans are imperfect, including you. Train yourself also to notice the moments when anger tempts you because you want to feel significant. Sometimes people become irritated at small things because it gives them an illusion of power. They feel alive in the emotion. They feel seen. They feel important. This is dangerous. If you begin to associate anger with significance, you will unconsciously seek irritation. Your mind will create reasons to be upset because it craves the intensity. You must break this association. Seek significance not through emotional outbursts, but through discipline, composure, and wisdom. There is no greatness in being easily provoked. Another profound practice is remembering mortality. Whenever something trivial threatens to upset you, remind yourself of the fragility of life. One day you will leave this world. When that moment comes, will it matter that someone spoke rudely? Will it matter that traffic was slow? Will it matter that a plan was delayed? The things that irritate you today will be invisible from the perspective of a life's end. When you remember your mortality, your priorities rearrange themselves immediately. Small annoyances become meaningless, and what truly matters comes to the surface: peace, clarity, purpose, compassion. Consider also the emotional influence of fatigue. When you are tired, stressed, hungry, or overwhelmed, anger finds fertile ground. The smallest spark becomes a wildfire because your mind lacks the energy to regulate itself. This is why caring for your physical well-being is essential to emotional control. A calm life is built not only on philosophy but on balance, proper rest, nutrition, movement, and recovery. A neglected body breeds an irritated mind. You can also practice gratitude as a method to disarm anger. When irritation arises, shift your focus to something you are thankful for. Gratitude expands the mind, anger shrinks it. Gratitude reminds you of abundance. Anger focuses on lack. Gratitude elevates your awareness. Anger narrows it. You cannot be deeply grateful and deeply angry at the same time. Train the mind to look for blessings even in the midst of inconvenience. Eventually, the mind becomes so accustomed to gratitude that irritation finds no foothold. Another method is mastering indifference. Not coldness, not apathy, but wise indifference toward what is beyond your control. Indifference is the shield of the calm mind. When you cease to take small things personally, they pass through you without leaving a mark. Indifference does not mean you stop caring about life. It means you stop allowing the insignificant to injure your peace. It is the art of selective concern. You must also consider how often anger grows because you assume the worst of others. You assume they meant to insult you. You assume they wanted to inconvenience you. You assume they acted with malicious intent. But more often than not, people are not plotting against you. They are simply distracted, overwhelmed, or unaware. Before anger takes hold, give the most generous interpretation. Not to excuse the behavior, but to protect your peace. The generous interpretation frees your mind. The suspicious interpretation enslaves it. One of the most powerful disciplines is to see every irritation as a test of your mastery. Not a punishment, not an obstacle, but a test. Life presents you with small annoyances to measure your growth. Will you react as you always have, or will you rise above your old patterns? When you treat irritations as tests, you become motivated to pass them. Your pride becomes invested in your self-control, not in your outburst. This is how character is built. Finally, remember that peace is not found in perfect circumstances. Peace is found in disciplined perception. The world will always contain noise, chaos, foolishness, inconvenience, and unpredictability. These elements are woven into the fabric of existence. You cannot eliminate them, but you can eliminate their power over you. You can train your mind to move through these disturbances as a river moves around rocks, unhindered, uninjured, unbroken. As your mastery grows, the trivial things that once provoked you will appear insignificant. The world will not have changed, but you will have. Your mind will rise above the petty storms that once dragged you down. You will walk through life with a calm so deep that it becomes a silent force. And the things that once angered you will lose their meaning entirely, because you will finally understand that no small thing deserves your fire, your time, or your inner harmony.